Chosen one. Listen carefully. Heaven has stopped the noise around you to deliver this message into your spirit. This moment is not coincidence. It is not the algorithm. It is the hand of God reaching for you. He says, I need to talk to you. Please, I am begging you today. You are not here by mistake. Your name has been carved into His plans since before you were born. You are different. That is why you have never felt at home in ordinary spaces. You tried to fit in. But deep down, you knew something inside you was set apart. Think about the nights you thought no one noticed your pain. You laid in silence, convinced your prayers bounced off the ceiling. But every tear was counted. Every sigh was recorded. Heaven has seen you in the hidden places, even when earth ignored you. Let me paint you an image. Imagine standing on a battlefield, smoke rising, weapons scattered, and everyone else retreating. You are the last one still upright, sword in hand, barely able to breathe. It looks hopeless, yet just as you think you will collapse, a wind sweeps over the field, steady and strong, lifting you back to your feet. That is what is happening in your spirit now. God is breathing life where you thought there was only weakness. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 27, verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Take those words into your heart. You have feared too many voices. You have doubted your own steps. But the light that burns in you is not your own. It is the light of the Lord Himself, and no darkness can extinguish it. Why have your battles felt heavier than others? Because your light threatens the shadows. Why have people misunderstood you, rejected you, or pushed you aside? Because they sensed something on you that they could not explain. You carry a call that convicts. You carry a fire that unsettles. Think of yourself as a single spark buried beneath cold ashes. Everyone around assumes you are finished, burnt out, irrelevant. But in the depths of those ashes, a glow remains. All it takes is the slightest breath from heaven, and that spark will rise into a flame that no one can ignore. That spark is you, chosen one. God is not just asking you to hear, He is asking you to act. This word is not for curiosity, it is for transformation. When heaven interrupts, you cannot stay the same. When God says, move, the ground beneath you will shift until you obey. You were never called to merely survive. You were not designed to fade into the background. You are a voice, not an echo. You are a lighthouse in the storm, guiding others, even while waves crash against you. The crown set aside for you will not fit anyone else, and you cannot leave it behind. So I speak to you with urgency. Do not ignore this call. Do not brush off this moment. Heaven is leaning close, and you are being summoned into a greater season. If this word is piercing your spirit, then let your response be visible. Share this message so others may wake up to the truth as you are waking now. Subscribe so you remain connected to future words that will strengthen you. And in the comments, type this prophetic number as a sign of agreement with heaven. 444. Do not think for a moment that your small beginnings disqualify you. Every giant in Scripture started with trembling steps. David was a shepherd before he faced Goliath. Gideon was hiding in a winepress before he led an army. And you, right now, you may feel hidden, overlooked, unprepared. But heaven specializes in raising the hidden ones. Your season of waiting was not wasted. Waiting sharpened you. Waiting taught you endurance. Waiting stripped away false attachments. You were like a seed underground, silent, unseen, but not dead. The soil was pressing, yes, but it was also protecting. Roots were forming where no eye could see. And now, the sprout is breaking through. Chosen one. The same God who called Moses from a burning bush. The same God who lifted Joseph from prison to palace is the same God calling you today. The fire that burned in them is now stirring in you. This is not a suggestion, this is a commissioning. So, rise. Lift your head. The time of hiding is closing. Your light is needed. Your voice is needed. Your courage is needed. You are here for such a time as this. Remember this moment, because it marks the beginning of your return to strength, your awakening, and your assignment. You have carried pain that very few people know about. The kind of pain that does not always leave visible marks, but carves deep valleys in your soul. You smiled on the outside while silently breaking on the inside. You learned to walk with wounds hidden under the armor of daily life. And God says to you now, I have seen every wound. I have counted every scar. I have witnessed every silent cry that no one else heard. There were moments you thought you were invisible. People passed you by as if your existence did not matter. Even those you trusted most sometimes turned their backs when you needed them most. And yet, though the world overlooked you, heaven never did. Every breath you took was recorded. Every night you tossed in your bed was watched. Angels stood by. Even when you felt entirely alone, let me tell you a story. A young woman, carrying disappointment after disappointment, believed that her life was over before it even began. She prayed, but silence answered. She reached out, but rejection pushed her away. For years, she thought, God must have forgotten me. But one night, as she sat by a window, staring at the moon, a thought dropped into her heart. Even here, I am seen. That thought was the turning point. Slowly she realized that her scars were not signs of abandonment, they were signs of survival. That young woman rose, and today she carries a strength she never imagined she could hold. This is your story too. Your tears are not wasted. Your pain is not pointless. Every blow you took, every disappointment you endured, became a chisel in the hand of God, shaping you into a vessel He could use. Do not despise the wounds. They are proof that you were worth fighting for. Think of yourself as a tree in the middle of a storm. The wind bends you. The rain beats against you. Lightning cracks over hill. To others, it looks like you will break. But underground, something unseen is happening. Your roots are digging deeper. The more the storm rages, the stronger your foundation becomes. That is what suffering has done in you. It has driven your roots deeper into strength, deeper into faith, deeper into resilience. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 3. I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness. These words are not just ancient echoes, they are alive for you right now. They mean that every wound has been wrapped in a greater love, a love that refuses to let you go. You may wonder why the rejection had to be so sharp, why the betrayal had to cut so deep. The truth is this: God allowed certain doors to close so that your destiny would not be delayed. Sometimes He protects you by removing what you thought you needed. The rejection was painful, yes, but it was also redirection. What you lost was not meant to carry you forward. What you gained is unseen but eternal. Chosen one. Your scars tell a story. They say, I survived what was meant to destroy me. They declare, I am still standing when others thought I would fall. They whisper, God is not finished with me yet. And in time, those scars will not be marks of shame. They will be testimonies that heal others who carry wounds of their own. Remember this, the cross itself was a wound, but from that wound came salvation. The nails pierced, the blood spilled, but what looked like defeat became the very doorway to victory. If God could turn the darkest wound in history into the brightest light of eternity, then He can turn your wounds into weapons of hope. Lift your eyes from your scars for a moment. Look at what they have made you. You are stronger than you ever believed. You are deeper than you ever imagined. And you are not defined by the pain of your past. You are defined by the hand that held you through it. So take a breath. Let the weight of your story settle. But not as a burden, as a reminder. God has not wasted one moment of your suffering. He has stored every tear, and He is weaving them into a masterpiece that will one day take your breath away. Your wounds have not disqualified you, they have qualified you. And soon, the very places that hurt the most will become the very places where God shines the brightest through you. There comes a moment when truth can no longer be hidden. God does not only comfort your wounds, He also diagnoses the root. What has been holding you back, what has been chaining you, is now being uncovered. The Lord is not exposing you to shame you. He is exposing what has been strangling your destiny so that you may finally breathe free. Some of the chains are obvious: fear, self-doubt, guilt, but some are subtle, almost invisible. The quiet compromises, the voices that whispered lies so long that you began to believe them, the cycles you thought were just the way things are. These are not harmless. They are parasites feeding on your calling. And today God says, enough. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with stones. At first you barely notice the weight. You've grown used to it. But step by step, it slows you down, bends your back, steals your joy. Then one day someone opens the bag and begins to pull the stones out. Anger, bitterness, shame, regret. Suddenly, you can stand tall again. This is what God is doing for you right now, removing the weights you never realized were breaking you. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. The heart is the wellspring of your life. When it is polluted, everything that flows out of you carries that same bitterness. When it is cleansed, everything you touch begins to live again. Chosen one. The reason you feel like your life has been circling the same mountain again and again is not because you lack faith, but because you have been carrying something that does not belong in your future. God cannot pour fresh wine into old wineskins. He cannot release new blessings into a heart still tangled in yesterday's poison. Perhaps you have been clinging to forgiveness you never gave. Perhaps fear has built a fortress around your courage. Perhaps the voice of past failures has been louder than the voice of God. These are the subtle prisons. And today the Lord walks into your cell, key in hand, saying, "You are free. Step out. Leave the chains behind. Think of a butterfly caught in its own cocoon. The shell was once protection, but if it refuses to break, it becomes a coffin. What once kept you safe now threatens to kill your flight. This is why God is tearing open what you thought you needed, because you were made to soar, not to suffocate. Do not mistake this exposure as punishment. It is mercy. God loves you too much to let you stay stuck. He reveals to heal. He convicts to restore. And even now, He is cleansing your heart, pulling up roots that never belonged, and planting seeds of freedom that will outlast every season of your life. Here is your moment to respond, not by hiding, not by pretending everything is fine, but by declaring that you hear the truth and you choose to be free. Type in the comments, "I choose freedom." When you write it, you are not typing empty words. You are making a prophetic declaration that echoes in the unseen. You are agreeing with heaven, saying, "I will no longer bow to the lies that bound me. I step out of my prison, and I walk into the light." So let your fingers be your voice. Let your comment be your first step. Declare your freedom, and watch how God rushes to confirm it in your life. Freedom begins with honesty. When you dare to speak it out, "I choose freedom," you are pulling the mask away. Masks protect for a while, but they also suffocate. God is not interested in the version of you that pretends. He is calling the real you to step forward, wounds and all, because the real you is the one He anointed. Understand this: the enemy thrives in silence. Chains grow stronger when they are never named. But the moment you put words to your decision, you break his grip. That is why even a simple comment carries weight in the spirit. What feels small on earth shakes foundations in heaven. Do not underestimate this act. Declaring freedom is not a cliché. It is agreement with God's truth. And when you agree with God, every lie loses its authority. The prison door is not only unlocked, it is flung wide open. All that remains is for you to walk out. So say it, believe it, and live it. You are free. The past no longer holds the chains. The pain no longer writes your future. You step into light, and the light will not be put out. There is a point in every journey where mercy and warning meet. You stand at that point now. God's mercy has carried you further than you realize, shielding you from destruction that should have swallowed you whole. But the Spirit whispers, this is not a moment to delay. This is not a word to file away for later. You are standing on the edge of a window that will not stay open forever. Think about how many times you could have been lost. The accident that almost claimed you. The night you almost gave up. The temptation that nearly overpowered you. And yet mercy stepped in unseen but undeniable. Mercy whispered, not yet. This one still has a purpose. If you are breathing right now, it is proof that mercy has been standing guard at your side. But mercy is not permission to drift. Mercy is opportunity. It is the space God grants so you can realign with Him before consequences close in. The scriptures speak of seasons, times to plant, times to reap, times to build, times to tear down. Mercy creates the season of grace, but seasons shift. What you do in this moment matters more than you realize. Imagine a bridge suspended over a raging river. You've been standing in the middle, unsure whether to move forward or turn back. The bridge is strong, but it will not last forever. Storms are coming. The wood is wearing, and every step you delay brings greater risk. That bridge is mercy. It was built to carry you across, not to hold you still. The ancient words recorded in the book of Hosea, chapter 10, verse 12 declare, "Sow righteousness for yourselves. Reap the fruit of unfailing love, and break up your unplowed ground, for it is time to seek the Lord, until he comes and showers his righteousness on you." Notice the urgency in those words. It is time, not tomorrow, not next year now. Mercy has opened a space, but you must plant into it, or the soil will harden again. Some think delay is harmless. I'll change later. I'll pray when I feel ready. I'll obey when the timing is better. But delay is the silent thief of destiny. Each postponement dulls conviction until the voice of God sounds like background noise. Each compromise builds a layer of blindness until light feels like darkness. That is why the Spirit presses you now with such intensity. Do not harden your heart. Do not wait until the soil is rock. Do not miss the rain of righteousness because you lingered in comfort. There is a tension you feel, even as you hear these words. Part of you longs to leap forward, but part of you wants to stay where it is safe. Understand this. Safety is an illusion. To stay still is to drift backward. To cling to what feels familiar is to choose chains over freedom. Mercy does not extend comfort so you can sleep. It extends time so you can rise. Think of Jonah. Mercy sent a storm to redirect him, not to destroy him. Mercy sent a great fish to hold him, not to bury him. But the mercy was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to turn him back toward his assignment. You too are in such a place. What feels like interruption is actually preservation. What feels like confinement is actually protection, but it cannot last forever. Do not confuse patience with permanence. God is patient, yes, but patience is given so that change can happen. The door of the ark stayed open for a time, but not indefinitely. The manna fell for a season, but not for generations. The window of mercy is generous, but it is not endless. Chosen one. The edge of mercy is not meant to terrify you, but to awaken you. Fear is not the goal. Clarity is. God wants you to see how precious your time is, how valuable your obedience is, and how urgent your response must be. You are not standing at the edge of condemnation. You are standing at the edge of invitation. So let this truth settle deep. Mercy has carried you here, but obedience will carry you forward. The bridge is still strong enough. The soil is still soft enough. The Spirit is still speaking loudly enough, but the season is shifting, and your decision will shape the direction of your life. You are standing on holy ground, with heaven leaning close. This is not the moment to hesitate. This is the moment to move. You need to hear this clearly. You are not ordinary. Heaven has crowned you with a royal identity that the world may never fully understand. The weight you feel pressing on your shoulders is not a curse, it is a crown. But here is the mystery. Crowns are often heavy before they are glorious. Think of a blacksmith shaping a crown of pure gold. He heats the metal until it glows, hammers it into shape, and polishes it until it shines. The process is loud, hot, and painful to the gold, but the end result is something fit for royalty. This is the process of your life. Every trial, every rejection, every hidden season, it was the hammer, the fire, the polish, and now the crown rests upon you. Some days you forget it is there. You look in the mirror and only see tired eyes. You compare yourself with others and only feel behind. But the crown does not disappear when you feel weak. It does not fall when you doubt yourself. It remains, because God Himself placed it on your head. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 25, everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last. But we do it to get a crown that will last forever. This crown is not temporary, not made of metal or jewels. It is eternal. It represents authority, calling, and destiny that will outlast this world. Chosen one. This is why your presence shifts atmospheres. When you walk into a room, you do not always notice it, but darkness does. The enemy sees the crown on your head and trembles. That is why battles rage around you. They are attempts to make you forget who you are. If you doubt your crown, you will live as if you are ordinary, when in truth you were born to reign. I want you to imagine something: a lighthouse standing tall on the edge of a stormy coast. Ships lost in fog depend on its beam of light to guide them home. The lighthouse does not chase after the ships, it simply shines, faithfully, day after day. That is you. You are a crown bearer, a lighthouse, a guide, and your steady light is saving lives you may never even meet. Now let me speak to your heart gently. If these words are pouring strength into you, if they are reminding you of your crown, I invite you to help keep this lighthouse shining. Messages like this are beams of light sent out into a stormy world. But lighthouses must be maintained, the oil must be filled, the lamp kept burning, the walls protected from the waves. This is what your support does. When you choose to like, to share, and to subscribe, you are extending the beam of light further into the darkness. And if you feel stirred to go further through giving, through offering, know that it is never demanded. It is an act of planting. Your donation is like a seed dropped into fertile soil. One seed never stays. One, it multiplies, becoming a harvest that feeds many. Or think of it as a stone placed into the foundation of a great cathedral. Alone it looks small, but together it builds a house of light that stands for generations. Do not see this as pressure. See it as invitation. When you give, you pour oil into the flame, ensuring the lighthouse never goes dark. But even if you do not, the crown on your head still shines the same. This is not about condition, it is about participation. As you carry this crown forward, remember, you are not in this alone. Together, we are a generation of crowned ones, rising, shining, refusing to be hidden, and every action you take, every like, every share, every subscription, every gift becomes part of that collective light. Lift your head, adjust your crown. You are chosen, marked, and crowned for such a time as this, and nothing can strip it away. And remember, crowns are not given to be hidden in boxes. They are meant to be worn, to be seen, to shine as a witness of the one who placed them there. Your life itself becomes a declaration: God has chosen me, and I will not live beneath that call. So even when you feel small, let your crown remind you that heaven calls you great, even when the world overlooks you. Let your crown remind you that God sees you clearly, even when your hands feel empty. Your head carries glory. Walk forward with that assurance. Step into each day, knowing you are marked, anointed, and crowned. Nothing can take it away. For what God places, no hand can remove. There are moments in your life when heaven sounds the alarm. This is one of those moments. A spiritual emergency is not about panic, it is about urgency. It is the moment God says, "Do not delay. Do not put this off. Your soul, your destiny, your future depend on what you choose right now." You have felt it in your spirit. The restlessness, the heaviness, the sense that time is moving faster than you can grasp. That is not random. That is the Spirit stirring you awake, shaking you from spiritual sleep, because every delay, every compromise, every "I'll do it later" is dangerous when eternity is at stake. Imagine a house filling slowly with smoke. At first, the air is only a little clouded, easy to ignore, but each minute that passes, the smoke thickens until breathing becomes impossible. That is what spiritual compromise does. It fills the atmosphere of your soul until light feels dim and truth feels distant. And God is shouting now, "Get out. Step into fresh air while you still can." The voice of God thundered in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19. "This day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live." Notice the words, "this day," not tomorrow, not someday. This day. The choice cannot be delayed. You may be thinking, "But I've already stumbled so many times." Hear this, stumbling is not final. Falling is not fatal. But refusing to rise, refusing to answer, refusing to act, that is when blindness takes over. That is why the Spirit presses you now. You are not being shamed, you are being rescued. Let me tell you a story. A young man once felt God tugging on his heart. He kept saying, "Later, when I'm older, when I'm ready." Years passed. His heart grew harder. The voice grew keener. One day, he realized he could no longer feel the pull at all. It wasn't that God had abandoned him, it was that delay had deafened him. Do not let that be your story. When conviction burns, it is proof that God is still speaking, still drawing, still calling you home. Think of your life like a train track. The switch is small, almost invisible, but it determines whether the train will arrive at its destination or derail into a field. One small decision now sets the direction for miles ahead. That is why heaven is urging you, do not shrug this off. Do not think you can circle back later. The track is being set right now. You have been given more chances than you realize. Nights when you almost gave in. Mornings when you almost didn't rise yet. Here you are. That is mercy. But mercy is not meant to be stretched endlessly. It is meant to be answered. And when you answer, the grip of darkness shatters. There is a holy weight on these words. They are not entertainment. They are not background noise. They are the alarm of heaven sounding over your life. And when alarms ring, the only right response is movement. So here is the call. Do not only listen, respond. Mark this moment. Seal it. Declare that you hear and that you choose life. Type in the comments 999. This is not superstition, It is symbolism. The number 9 represents finality, the closing of a cycle. Writing 999 is a prophetic declaration that the old chapter ends today, the cycle of delay, compromise, and distraction is finished. It is your way of saying, I choose to end what held me back, and I choose to step into the new life God is opening for me. And every time you see that number written, let it remind you, this was the day the alarm sounded, and you answered. This was the moment your heart shifted. Your chains broke, and your new season began. Do not harden your heart. Do not silence the tug. The emergency is real, but so is the rescue. The danger is heavy, but so is the mercy that pulls you out. Your story does not end in smoke. Your chapter does not close in compromise. Today is the day you run out of the burning house, into the arms of the one who has been waiting all along. When you write 999, see it as more than digits on a screen. It is the sound of a door closing behind you, and the creak of a new one opening ahead. The old season bows out, and the path before you clears for fresh beginnings, unshaken and unbroken. This is not a magic formula, it is a declaration. By typing 999, you are not performing ritual. You are aligning your heart. You are telling heaven and yourself, I will not return to what once bound me. I walk forward into what God has prepared. That is the power of obedience sealed with confession. The truth must be spoken plainly. You have an enemy. The struggles you face are not only natural, they are also spiritual. Behind the disappointments, behind the betrayals, behind the weight that tries to crush you, there is an adversary who has studied your steps, analyzed your weaknesses, and designed strategies to derail your destiny. Yet the word assures you, though the enemy plots, he cannot prevail against the chosen of God. Think about this. Battles rarely start where the enemy is weak. They begin where he believes you are most vulnerable. That is why temptation always comes tailored to your specific wounds. If you struggled with rejection, he sends voices that echo that lie. If you feared abandonment, he surrounds you with people who leave. If you doubted your worth, he whispers constantly that you are not enough. The attack is customized, because your calling is customized. According to the writings of Paul in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. This means the true battle is invisible. People may be the vessels, but they are not the source. To fight effectively, you must see past the surface and recognize the deeper war. Imagine standing on a stage where strings are being pulled from behind a curtain. The actors move. The words are spoken. But the true control is in the unseen hands of the puppeteer. In the same way, the enemy tries to pull strings in the shadows, convincing you that people are the problem. But once the curtain is lifted, you see clearly. The enemy was never your neighbor, your co-worker, or your family. It was the darkness manipulating them. Yet here is the hope. Exposure destroys deception. Once the light shines, the puppeteer is revealed, and the strings lose their power. That is why God is unveiling the enemy's tactics in your life. He is pulling back the curtain, showing you that what you thought was personal is actually spiritual, and what seemed random was actually targeted But targeted attacks mean targeted destiny. The more specific the warfare, the clearer the proof that you carry something significant. Think of Joseph. His brothers plotted against him, sold him, and tried to bury his future. But beneath their hatred was a darker plan, and above their hatred was a higher hand. What the enemy meant for evil became the very platform for God's glory. The pit led to the palace. The betrayal became the bridge. So it is with you. The enemy studies your patterns, but he cannot steal your crown. He can tempt, but he cannot remove what heaven has placed. His only hope is to make you surrender what already belongs to you. That is why deception is his strongest weapon, not because he can defeat you, but because he tries to convince you that you are already defeated. Picture a lion pacing outside a cage. He roars. He bares his teeth. He shakes the bars. But the lock is secure. If the one inside forgets the cage is locked, fear will paralyze them as though they were in danger. But the roar does not equal the bite. The sound is intimidation, not reality. Scripture calls the enemy a roaring lion, not a conquering one. His roar is meant to silence you, but your voice anchored in truth is what silences him. So the next time the pressure rises, do not only look at the people in front of you, lift your eyes higher. Recognize the scheme behind the scenes, and then lift your eyes higher still to the one who has already secured your victory. For every enemy exposed, there is a strategy dismantled. For every lie revealed, there is truth breaking chains. And for every plan of darkness, there is a counterplan of heaven already unfolding. Remember this, the enemy is real, but he is not ultimate. His authority is borrowed and his time is short. The very fact that you are being attacked is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of worth. You do not wage war because you are abandoned. You wage war because you are chosen. So stand firm. Do not cower at the roar. Do not waste your strength fighting flesh and blood. Aim higher. Strike at the root. And watch as the one who has already overcome equips you to walk in victory. There is something stirring within you that you may not yet understand. Gifts that once seemed dormant, silent, or hidden are beginning to awaken. These are not talents you picked up by chance, nor skills you developed only through effort. They are deposits from heaven, placed in you before your birth, waiting for the appointed time to be revealed. That time is now. From childhood, you may have felt glimpses of these gifts. Perhaps you carried unusual sensitivity to the pain of others, or visions that came in dreams, or words that carried weight beyond your years. But life, with its storms and its critics, pressed these things down. Fear made you hide them. Rejection made you question them. Disappointment made you doubt whether they were ever real. But chosen ones cannot bury what heaven planted. Like seeds beneath winter soil, your gifts may appear dead, but within them is life that refuses to stay silent. When the season shifts, the frozen ground melts, and what was hidden pushes upward, unstoppable. You are entering such a season now, according to what is revealed in the book of Romans, chapter 11. Verse 29, for the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. Irrevocable means they cannot be cancelled, withdrawn, or erased. No failure you made. No rejection you endured. No mistake you regret has the power to undo what God placed inside you. Imagine a musical instrument locked in a dusty attic. Years pass. Cobwebs gather, and silence fills the room. Yet the moment it is brought into the light and touched by skilled hands, sound bursts forth, sound that was always there, waiting. That is your spirit now. The dust of disappointment is lifting, and the sound of your destiny is being tuned. Your gift is not meant to be compared with others. Just as the body has many parts, eye, hand, ear, foot, each with unique function, so too the family of God requires your specific part. To compare yourself is to misunderstand your design. You were not made to echo. You were made to express what only you can. Consider Moses. He doubted his voice, yet his staff split seas. Consider Esther. She hid her identity, yet her courage saved a nation. Consider Peter. He denied in fear, yet his words ignited thousands. What they carried was not their own. It was a gift awakened in time. And the same God who awakened them is awakening you. Perhaps you are asking, how do I know my gift? Pay attention to where your compassion stirs, where your passion ignites, where your vision stretches beyond the ordinary. Gifts often reveal themselves in what burdens you deeply. If injustice makes your heart burn, you carry the gift to confront darkness. If healing draws your spirit, you carry the gift to restore. If truth burns on your tongue, you carry the gift to declare. But know this, gifts are not for display, they are for service. A lamp is not lit to be admired, it is lit to give light. Your gift is not given to make you great in the eyes of men, but to make God known in the earth. When you use what is inside you for His glory, multiplication follows. Think of a river. At its source, it may seem small, but as it flows, it gathers strength, nourishes land, and shapes valleys. A gift hidden is like water trapped in a dam. It stagnates. A gift released is like a river ever moving, ever giving life. This awakening may feel uncomfortable. Dormant things stretch when they rise. Muscles, unused, feel sore when activated. Do not mistake the stretching for breaking. It is preparation. The gift is not fragile, it is resilient, forged by the Spirit Himself. Do not despise small beginnings. Even the faint stirring is holy. Even the whisper of a gift is sacred. As you practice, as you step, as you trust, it grows stronger. What feels uncertain today will become undeniable tomorrow, and what once seemed impossible will become natural, because it was always written into your design. So, let the awakening come. Let the dust fall away. Let the seed break open. For the world does not need more imitation. It needs your originality, your voice, your light. Chosen one. You are not empty. You are not overlooked. You are a carrier of eternal gifts. And their awakening is heaven's announcement that your appointed time has arrived. And as these gifts awaken, see yourself not as a vessel too fragile to carry them, but as a torch designed for fire. Flames do not consume the torch, they reveal its purpose. So it is with you. Awakening proves design. There comes a point when revelation demands a response. You have been shown your wounds, your worth, your crown, and even the gifts awakening within you. Now God says, do not remain silent. Speak. Let your voice echo your decision. Silence is dangerous in moments of destiny. Silence gives space for doubt to creep back in, for fear to regain its seat, for the lies of yesterday to reclaim their ground. That is why heaven always asks for response. It is not because God needs to hear it. He already knows your heart. It is because you need to hear yourself. When your tongue aligns with your spirit, chains break. The Apostle Paul wrote to the Romans, chapter 10, verse 10, "For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved." Faith begins in the heart, but it is sealed by the mouth. A declaration spoken carries weight in heaven and in the unseen world. Imagine a soldier standing at attention before his commander. He hears the call but says nothing. Is he truly enlisted? But when he answers, "Yes, sire," the sound confirms his allegiance. Your words are like that. They are your yes to the call of God. They are your way of saying, "I am not a bystander. I am part of this battle." Think of walls that echo. A whisper may seem small, but once released, it reverberates, filling the space. In the same way, your declaration may feel like a few simple words, but in the spirit, it reverberates far beyond what you see. It is the sound of obedience filling the atmosphere. So here is your call. Break the silence. Step beyond hesitation. Mark this moment with a declaration that heaven will record. Type in the comments, "I shine." I do not dismiss its simplicity. Two small words may feel ordinary, but in the spirit, they blaze like fire. They are you rising out of shadows, declaring that your light cannot be hidden. They are you saying, "No more shrinking, no more dimming, no more silence." When you write, "I shine," you are declaring, "I shine in my calling. I shine against the lies that once bound me. I shine with the light God placed in me." These are not empty words. They are your war cry, your covenant, your commitment. And every time you see those words appear, whether written by your hand or echoed by others, let it remind you, this was the moment you stepped forward, luminous and unafraid. This was the day you planted your feet firmly and refused to bow to fear again. Chosen one. Your shine is not weak, it is radiant. Your shine is not solitary. It joins countless others rising in the same spirit. And your shine is not temporary, it is eternal. So lift your voice. Let the words flow. And let the unseen world know, you are not dimmed anymore. You shine. Light has always been the answer to darkness. A single candle in a vast room may seem small, but it changes everything. Shadows retreat, shapes are revealed, and fear loses its grip. That is what happens when you say, "I shine." It is not only about brightness, it is about clarity, courage, and truth, filling the places that once felt suffocating. Understand this. Shining does not mean life becomes effortless. The flame still flickers when winds blow, but a flame that knows its source does not fear the wind, because the wind can only spread what it tries to extinguish. Your declaration, "I shine," is permission for God to take your light and multiply it, scattering sparks into places you could never reach on your own. Think of how stars appear in the night sky. Alone. One star is beautiful. Together, they form constellations, maps that guided sailors, inspired poets, and gave hope to generations. In the same way, your shine is part of a constellation of chosen ones across the earth. You do not carry this flame in isolation. When you shine, others are encouraged to do the same. Together, your lights create patterns of hope in a world desperate for direction. And here is the deeper truth. Shining is not optional for the chosen, it is identity. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world. Not you may be, not you could be, but you are." When you say, "I shine," you are agreeing with what heaven already declared about you. You are stepping into alignment with eternal identity, not temporary feeling. So let this be etched into your spirit. Shadows will try, storms will rise, but light wins every time. And the light in you is not fragile, it is eternal. Saying "I shine" is not the end of a chapter, it is the beginning of a legacy. Every covenant requires renewal. Every promise requires realignment. And now you are being called into a deeper covenant with God, not one shaped by fear or habit, but one written in your heart, sealed in your actions, and alive in your daily steps. Covenants are not chains, they are anchors. They do not trap you, they steady you. Picture a ship at sea during a violent storm. The waves rise, the winds howl, and every direction feels uncertain. But when the anchor drops, stability returns. That is what covenant does for your soul. It anchors you when life shakes. It keeps you from drifting into waters where destruction waits. The ancient words recorded in the book of Hebrews, chapter 8, verse 10 declare, "I will put my laws in their minds and write them on their hearts. I will be their God. They will be my people." Notice, this covenant is not on stone tablets, it is inscribed on the living heart. Think of a wedding vow. The vow does not create love, but it declares love publicly, sealing it for all to see. In the same way, God is asking you not to love Him in silence, but to renew your vow openly. "I am yours, and you are mine." End of quote. But here is the beauty: this covenant is not one-sided. It is not only about what you give, it is about what you receive. When you align with Him, you receive His protection, His peace, His provision. You trade uncertainty for assurance, wandering for guidance, and weakness for strength. Now, let us talk about how you can hold this covenant close. Every action you take can become part of your vow. When you like, share, and subscribe, you are not just clicking buttons, you are passing a torch into someone else's hands, ensuring the flame does not stop with you. And if your heart feels stirred to go deeper through generosity, through giving, hear this carefully. It is not requirement, it is invitation. Your donation is like ink on a living scroll. Each gift writes another line in a story that outlives you. Or it is like a drop of color in clear water. Alone, it is small, but once released, it spreads beauty to every corner of the glass. Do not see it as pressure. See it as partnership. When you give, you are not paying for blessing. You are building bridges for others to walk into light. I want you to imagine this. A farmer walks into a field with a bag of seeds. If he keeps the seeds in his pocket, they stay small, hidden, and lifeless. But when he releases them into the soil, something miraculous happens. Rain falls, sun shines, and harvest comes far greater than the number of seeds sown. That is what your support becomes. A release that multiplies beyond what you can see. And hear this clearly. Whether you give or not, you are still chosen. whether you donate or not. Your covenant with God is still alive. This is not a condition, it is an opportunity, an act of love, not of debt. The beauty of covenant is choice. God does not coerce. He invites. He lays out life and blessing and says, choose. And when you choose Him not by force, but by desire, you step into joy, not obligation. So let this be written in your spirit. Your covenant is not fragile. It is not made of paper to be torn by storms. It is carved in eternity, sealed in the blood of Jesus, and alive. Every time you align your steps with Him, lift your eyes, renew your vow, and let your actions, big or small, become offerings of love. Every like, every share, every subscription, every gift, these are petals laid on the altar, fragrant with devotion, beautiful in God's sight. You are not bound, you are chosen, not pressured, but invited, not forced, but freed. And today, your covenant speaks louder than your past, stronger than your fear, and brighter than your doubt. A covenant is also like the tuning of an instrument. When strings are too loose, the song is flat. When stretched too tight, the song breaks. But when each string is tuned by the master's hand, harmony flows. Your life under covenant becomes that melody, steady, strong, and beautiful. Or think of a jewel carved with a seal. No storm can erase the engraving. No fire can consume it. The covenant on your life is that seal, unshakable, inerasable, eternal. When you walk in it, you carry heaven's signature wherever you go, a mark that darkness cannot counterfeit. The season you are in may feel unbearable. Pressures rise, disappointments linger, and every step forward seems to be met with resistance. You wonder if you are cursed, or if God has forgotten you. Yet the truth is this: what you call suffering, heaven calls refining. A furnace is never comfortable. Fear consumes, heat overwhelms, and metals scream as they are melted down. But the fire does not come to destroy it, comes to purify. It burns away the dross, leaving only what is strong, only what is true, only what is worthy. This is why Scripture often calls trials tests. They are not punishments. They are processes. The Apostle Peter wrote in his first letter, chapter 1, verse 7, "These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. If gold must face fire to reveal its worth, how much more will your spirit face trials to reveal the depth of your faith? Think of a sculptor working with marble. Each strike of the chisel looks harsh. Fragments fly, and the stone seems to be broken. But the sculptor does not strike aimlessly. He strikes with vision. He sees what no one else sees, the masterpiece hidden inside. So too, every blow life has struck you with is not random. It is carving away what does not belong, revealing the image of God within you. Perhaps you feel like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego thrown into fire for standing firm. Yet remember what happened in their story. The flames consumed ropes, but not skin, bonds, but not bodies. In fact, there was a fourth man walking with them. That is the mystery of the furnace. You never walk it alone. Fire becomes the place of encounter, where God Himself steps in to stand beside you. It is tempting to despise the furnace, to pray only for escape. But sometimes the miracle is not in avoiding the flames, it is in surviving them untouched. And when you emerge, the testimony carries a weight no easy season could ever give. Imagine clay in the potter's hands. While soft, it is pressed, spun, reshaped. When the form is ready, it is placed in a kiln. The heat is necessary. Without fire, the clay crumbles at the first touch of water. With fire, it becomes durable, lasting, useful. That is what your suffering is doing, hardening your resolve, strengthening your spirit, preparing you to carry what is coming without collapsing. You may ask, but why me? Why must I endure this? The answer is simple, yet profound, because you are trusted. God does not waste fire on the uncalled. He refines those He intends to use. If you were ordinary, the enemy would not bother, and heaven would not prepare so intensely. The furnace proves you are chosen. Think of your pain as the weight training of the soul. Muscles never grow in comfort. They grow by resistance, by breaking and rebuilding stronger. Your spirit is the same. Every burden you lift, every tear you endure, is building strength unseen. One day, you will look back and realize you can carry what once would have crushed you. So, let your perspective shift. Do not see the furnace as your grave, see it as your birthplace. Do not see the fire as your end, see it as your beginning. Every flame that touches you is removing what cannot last and igniting what will never fade. Chosen one, the fire you feel is not here to consume you, but to confirm you, not to destroy, but to define. And though it feels unbearable now, you will emerge unrecognizable, refined, radiant, resilient. Hold on. The flames will not last forever, but the strength they produce will. The fire is temporary, but the glory it births is eternal. And when you come through the fire, something remarkable happens. Not only are you changed, but the people around you see the change. Just as those who watched the 3 men in Babylon marveled that they emerged without even the smell of smoke, so too will others look at you and wonder, how did they survive? How are they still standing? Your scars will not be marks of shame, they will be evidence of endurance. Your story will not sound like tragedy, it will sound like triumph. What once felt like destruction will be recognized as construction. The building of a life anchored in God's strength. The fire is not the end of you. It is the making of you, and its glow will testify for generations. There is a truth you must embrace. You were never meant to walk this journey alone. Isolation was never God's design. From the very beginning, the words were spoken. It is not good for man to be alone. That truth echoes not only in marriage, but in every aspect of life. You are formed for community, strengthened in fellowship, and sharpened by those who walk beside you. When the enemy cannot defeat you head-on, he works to isolate you. He whispers, "No one understands you. No one cares. You are better off alone." But his goal is not your peace, it is your vulnerability. A sheep separated from the flock is the easiest target for wolves. The battle you are fighting is fierce. And though your crown is real, your strength multiplies when you stand with others who carry the same fire. According to what is revealed in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, verse 12, though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. The power of fellowship is not in numbers alone, but in the weaving together of lives. Destinies and prayers. Picture a single coal taken from a fire. For a moment it glows, but soon the heat fades and the ember dies. Place that coal back among the others, and it bursts into flame again. That is your spirit in community. Alone, you flicker. Together, you blaze. Think of your life as a tree. Roots spread deep, but branches stretch wide. Birds find shelter. Fruit grows heavy. Shade covers the weary. But one tree does not make a forest. A forest thrives because trees stand together, their roots intertwining underground, sharing strength invisible to the eye. That is what fellowship does, unseen, but powerful. It sustains you when storms come. You may have been hurt by people before. Betrayal cuts deep. Rejection leaves scars. And trust is not easy to rebuild. But do not let past wounds keep you from future healing. God never designed you to walk away from connection because of pain. He designed you to discern who to let close, who to release, and who to stand with in covenant. Chosen one. This is a command for your season. Walk with the right ones. Release the wrong ones. Not everyone can handle your light. Not everyone is meant to journey with you. Some were for a chapter, not the whole book. And that is not failure. It is wisdom. Look at Jesus himself. Though he loved the multitudes, he chose 12. Though he had 12, he drew 3 closer. And even among the 3, there were moments only he could carry. If the Son of God modeled discernment in community, how much more must you? Community is not about numbers, it is about alignment. One voice in tune with heaven strengthens you more than a crowd filled with noise. The right community reminds you who you are when you forget. They call out the crown when you feel ordinary. They speak life when silence feels louder than hope. And this is why I urge you now. Do not stay isolated. Step into fellowship. Let others sharpen you as iron sharpens iron. Let the prayers of those who love God cover you when your own words feel weak. Let the joy of brothers and sisters refresh you when sorrow weighs heavy. So, mark this moment with action. Declare that you hear the call of community, that you will not wander alone, that you will seek out the connections. Heaven is highlighting for you. Type in the comments, 222. The number 2 represents partnership and agreement. Writing 222 is your way of saying, I choose not to walk alone. I choose divine alignment. I choose to weave my life into the cord that will not easily be broken. Each time you see that number, let it remind you that you are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. You are part of a body, a family, a kingdom, and in that kingdom, your strength multiplies. Chosen one. The season of isolation ends here. You are being called into connection. Step into it, embrace it, and watch how God surrounds you with those who will carry you when you cannot walk and rejoice with you when you run. Think of geese flying in formation, alone. One bird tires quickly, but together in a V shape. Each benefits from the lift of the other's wings. That is the hidden gift of community, shared strength. When you choose fellowship, you are not just walking together, you are soaring further than you ever could alone. There comes a moment when the fog lifts and the assignment of your life begins to take shape. It is not simply about surviving, not merely about carrying a crown. It is about what that crown was given for. You were not chosen to sit in silence. You were chosen to build, to lead, to heal, to carry something forward that no one else can. From the beginning, God has written a mission over your life. It is not an accident that you were born in this generation. Not a mistake that your path has crossed the people it has. Not random that your pain has carved you in certain ways. Every detail, your victories, your struggles, your gifts, even your scars, has been woven into a tapestry that points to your assignment. The prophet Jeremiah recorded the voice of God. Chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. This word was spoken to Jeremiah, but its principle echoes over your life. Before breath filled your lungs, destiny marked your name. Assignment is not always dramatic. It is not always standing on stages or holding titles. Sometimes it looks like raising children in love, building integrity in the workplace, speaking truth in quiet places, or carrying compassion where others carry judgment. Do not diminish your mission because it does not look like another's. God's design for you is deliberate, unique, and irreplaceable. Think of an orchestra. One plays violin, another trumpet, another drum. Each sound alone is beautiful, but together they create a symphony. Imagine if the violin refused to play because it wanted the power of the trumpet, or the trumpet stayed silent because it envied the drum. The harmony would be lost. Your assignment is your instrument. Play it faithfully, and the music of heaven will echo through your life. Sometimes, the greatest struggle is not hearing the call, but trusting it. Doubts whisper, "What if I fail? What if I am not enough?" But here is the truth. The call does not rest on your strength, it rests on God's. You are not asked to accomplish everything at once. You are asked to obey the next step. Destiny is not revealed in one leap, but in 1,000 faithful steps. Think of Abraham. He was told to go, but not told where. Step by step, obedience carved the path. Your assignment unfolds in the same way. You may not see the end, but the one who called you does. Trust that each step is writing the story, even when you cannot read the whole chapter yet. You may feel inadequate. Moses felt the same when called to confront Pharaoh. Gideon felt the same when called to lead an army. Esther felt the same when asked to risk her life. Yet each discovered this truth. Inadequacy is the soil where God's sufficiency grows. Your weakness is not disqualification. It is the stage for His power. Imaginer qui, alone. It looks small, ordinary, insignificant, but in the right lock, it opens doors that were sealed for generations. You are that key. Your assignment is the lock, and when you align with the calling, doors open not only for you, but for those who will walk behind you. Assignment is never selfish. It always carries others in its wake. Joseph's assignment was not simply to rise in Egypt, but to preserve his family. David's assignment was not only to be king, but to establish worship that would echo through centuries. Jesus himself declared his assignment was to seek and save the lost. What God calls you to will always lift others with you. And here is the sobering truth. Assignments delayed can be assignments lost. Not that God forgets, but that opportunities shift. Seasons change. What He asks today may not be available tomorrow. That is why Obedience matters in time, not just in intent. You cannot hold your mission. In theory, you must live it in practice. Chosen one. Do not wait for perfect clarity to begin. Begin where you are. Speak where you stand. Love who is before you. Give what is in your hand. These are the seeds of your assignment, and from them will rise a harvest far beyond what you imagine. So let your heart rest in this. You are not aimless. You are not random. You are appointed, and your assignment, though unique, is part of a greater story being written by the author of all. Every assignment comes with a promise, and every promise carries provision. The God who calls you does not abandon you to figure out the path alone. He keeps. He supplies. He sustains. What he begins, he completes. This is the nature of his faithfulness. Often, the greatest fear in stepping into destiny is not whether you are willing, but whether you will have enough strength, enough wisdom, enough resources, enough support. These questions echo in the hearts of all who carry a mission greater than themselves. Yet the truth is this: what is in your hands may seem small, but in God's hands it becomes more than enough. We are reminded through the writings in the Gospel of John, chapter 6, verse 9. Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far will they go among so many? To human eyes, the offering looked insignificant. To heaven, it was the key to feeding thousands. What matters is not the size of what you carry, but the one who multiplies it. Think of a spring hidden beneath the earth. On the surface, the ground looks dry, cracked, barren. But when the spring is tapped, water bursts forth, flowing into streams that nourish the land. Provision is often hidden until faith presses into it. You may look around and see only scarcity, but beneath your feet lies the supply God has prepared. Provision is not always material. Sometimes it is wisdom arriving in a moment of confusion, courage rising when fear presses in, or favor opening doors that no resume could. Sometimes provision is a person who comes alongside you, carrying what you could not carry alone. God's provision is creative, surprising, and always timely. Consider Elijah by the brook of Kerith. When famine struck, ravens brought him food, and the brook sustained his thirst. When the brook dried, God sent him to a widow, and oil that should have run out flowed without end. This is the rhythm of divine provision. What looks like an ending is often a doorway to a new source. The God who provides does not run out of methods. Your life is evidence of this already. Think back to moments when you wondered, how will I make it? Yet somehow, a way appeared. Perhaps it was a word of encouragement, a gift at the right time, or strength you did not know you carried. That was provision. It may not always look spectacular, but it is always supernatural. Imagine walking a path at night with only a lantern. The lantern does not reveal the entire road, only the next few steps. Yet, as you walk, the light moves forward, and the path unfolds. That is how God provides, not always in advance, not always in abundance, but always enough for the next step. Faith is trusting that the lantern will never go out. Provision is also tied to trust. The more tightly you clutch what you have, the less space you leave for God to fill. But when you open your hands, when you release fear, control, and scarcity, You make room for abundance to flow. The boy who gave his lunch had no guarantee, but in giving, he unlocked a miracle that fed multitudes. It is important to remember this. Provision is not earned by striving, but received by faith. You cannot manipulate God into providing. You can only align yourself with His promise. And His promise is clear. If He calls, He keeps. If He sends, He sustains. If He promises, He fulfills. Think of a seed, once buried. It disappears from sight, and it seems as though it is gone. But underground, it is splitting open, roots forming, life stirring. In time, it rises into a tree, bearing fruit far beyond its size. That is what divine provision looks like. You may not see it yet, but beneath the surface, it is already moving. So let your heart rest in assurance. You will not be abandoned. You will not be left without. The journey ahead may stretch you, but it will not starve you. Every step into your assignment carries with it the supply needed for that step. Chosen one, breathe this truth in deeply. God's provision is not fragile. It is not scarce. It is not late. It arrives in the exact measure, at the exact moment, for the exact purpose He designed, and it will never fail you. Like a hidden well in the desert, provision may be invisible until you arrive at the place God directs. But when you reach it, the water flows abundantly, proving that every step of trust has already been prepared in advance. Every warrior must be trained for battle. Every chosen one must learn how to fight, not in the strength of flesh, but in the power of the Spirit. You have already seen the enemy exposed. You have already felt the furnace refine. Now comes the moment to be equipped with strategy, because chosen ones do not enter the field unprepared. A soldier does not wander aimlessly. He studies the field, learns the weapons, and trusts his commander. And you, too, are being armed with divine strategy. This is not a call to panic, but a call to precision. Heaven is placing tools in your hands that will not only defend but also advance. The ancient words in the book of Joshua, chapter 23, verse 10 declare, "One of you roots 1,000, because the Lord your God fights for you, just as He promised." This is the heart of your strategy. You do not fight alone. You fight with divine reinforcement. Imagine a blacksmith forging a sword. The metal is heated, hammered, sharpened, and tested. The process is intense, but the outcome is a weapon worthy of battle. That is what God has been doing with you, shaping you through trials, so that when the clash comes, you do not break, but cut through darkness. But warfare is not only about the sword, it is also about formation. An army wins not because one soldier is strong, but because the unit moves as one. And here is where your role extends beyond yourself. Your stand, your prayer, your obedience ripple outward, strengthening those around you. Now, let us talk about how you can join this strategy, even here. In this moment, when you like, share, and subscribe. It is not just digital activity, it is like raising a banner on the battlefield, signaling to others where hope can be found. Each click is a wave of your flag, saying, "Here stands light in the midst of war." And if your heart leans further toward generosity, let me frame it with care. When you give, you are not paying a fee. You are placing a stone into a fortress wall. Each stone may seem small, but together they form the stronghold that protects generations. Or imagine your gift as drops of oil poured into lamps before battle, so that the army does not march in darkness but under the glow of fire. You are not forced into this. You are invited. Support, whether through comment, share, or donation, becomes like arrows in a quiver. Alone, one arrow is limited. Together, they form a volley that breaks through the enemy's lines. So I urge you gently, do not underestimate the beauty of your part. Even the smallest action carries eternal weight when done in obedience. And to seal this moment, here is your declaration. Type in the comments, "Victory is mine." These 3 words are not empty. They are your war cry. They declare to heaven and to the unseen that you will not bow. You will not retreat. You will not forget your training. Picture this, a choir of warriors, each voice rising with the same anthem. One by one, they echo the words, "Victory is mine. Victory is mine." The sound shakes the ground beneath their feet until the enemy realizes, this is no scattered crowd, this is an army. That is what your comment becomes. Not a digital echo, but a spiritual chorus. And every time you see those words written, whether by your hand or by others, let them remind you of this truth. The battle is fierce, but victory is promised. The strategy is simple. Stand, declare, shine, and strengthen each other. Chosen one, lift your sword, raise your banner, and step into formation. You are not wandering, you are warring, and your obedience today is shaping victories for tomorrow. And never forget, victory is not only about your own story. When you stand, others are encouraged to stand. When you shine, others find courage to shine. When you declare, "Victory is mine," you are not simply echoing your triumph, you are prophesying triumph over families, cities, even generations. Think of a trumpet blast on the battlefield. The sound carries across hills and valleys, calling scattered warriors into alignment. Your voice, your actions, your giving, these are trumpet blasts. They rally strength where there was weakness, courage where there was fear, and unity where there was division. Chosen one, let your life be that sound. A clear, bold note of faith ringing across this age of noise, calling forth an army of light. Your obedience today will echo long after the battle ends. The battle may be fierce, but the crown that awaits is greater still. Beyond the fire, beyond the storm, beyond the nights of weeping lies a reward that cannot be stolen, cannot be tarnished, and cannot be lost. This is not a reward of man, it is the inheritance of the chosen. When you endure, you are not only surviving, you are storing up glory. Every tear shed in secret, every prayer whispered in weakness, every act of obedience unseen by the world is being recorded in heaven. Nothing is wasted. The crown is forged, not in moments of applause, but in seasons of hidden faithfulness. The writings of Paul in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, declare, "Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and also to all who long for his appearing." The promise is not exclusive, it is extended to all who remain faithful to the end. That includes you. Imagine a marathon runner pressing toward the finish line. Sweat pours. Muscles ache. Lungs burn. The crowd may cheer. But the true motivation is the prize waiting at the end. The medal does not erase the pain, but it makes every step worthwhile. So it is with your race. The hardships do not vanish, but the crown outweighs them all. This crown is not a mere symbol. It carries authority. In ancient times, crowns marked kings and victors. They represented rulership, triumph, and honor. When God places a crown on your head, it is His declaration that you have overcome, that you have reigned with endurance, that you carry His mark of honor. Perhaps you feel unworthy of such a promise. You think of your failures, your doubts, your weaknesses. Yet understand this: the crown is not a reward for perfection, but for perseverance. It is not given to the flawless, but to the faithful. Even when you stumbled, you rose again. Even when you doubted, you still prayed. Even when you felt weak, you still pressed forward. That is what heaven crowns. Think of a jeweler polishing a diamond. The stone looks rough, ordinary, unremarkable. But under pressure and with precise shaping, its brilliance emerges. The crown promised to you is set with such jewels, each facet representing battles endured, trials overcome, faith kept. What once seemed like scars will shine like diamonds in the light of eternity. The reward is not only future, it is also present, even now, as you walk in obedience. Glimpses of the crown break into your daily life. Peace that surpasses understanding. Joy that cannot be explained. Strength that does not match your circumstances. These are foretastes of the glory to come. The crown is eternal, but its shadow falls upon you, even here. Consider this: crowns are not hidden, treasures locked in vaults. They are meant to be displayed, to testify of victory. When you endure and overcome, your life itself becomes a crown, visible evidence of God's sustaining power. People look at you and see resilience, light, and hope. They may not understand the process, but they cannot deny the product. Chosen one, your crown is secure. No hand can steal it. No enemy can destroy it. No failure can erase it. The one who promised it is faithful. And though the journey feels long, the finish line is nearer than you think. So press forward. Lift your eyes beyond the present pain to the eternal prize. Let the vision of the crown steady your steps, strengthen your resolve, and remind you why you endure. For the crown is not only about you, it is also about the testimony it carries. When you wear it, you declare to the world and to the heavens, God is faithful. His promises endure. His chosen ones do not lose. And on that day, when the crown is placed upon your head, every sleepless night, every silent tear, every hidden prayer will be remembered, not as suffering, but as seed, and the harvest will be glory. Like a potter lifting a finished vessel from the kiln, God will lift you from the fire, not as clay, fragile and untested, but as a vessel strong, radiant, and ready to be filled with His glory. Your trials will no longer define you, they will decorate you. Every mark of pressure becomes proof of resilience. Every scar, a story of His faithfulness. And when you stand crowned, you will realize nothing was wasted. Not a step, not a sigh, not a single tear. All of it has been woven into eternal beauty, now shining through you forever. There is a silence that follows the storm. When the thunder has rolled, the lightning has flashed, and the rain has poured, there comes a calm, a stillness that feels almost holy. That stillness is not emptiness, it is restoration. And you, chosen one, are stepping into that holy calm. Your journey has been marked by battles, trials, and refining fires. You have walked through seasons of waiting, endured the furnace of suffering, and carried the weight of destiny on your shoulders. Yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still chosen. That in itself is a miracle. Survival is testimony. Endurance is victory. The prophet Isaiah wrote, chapter 61, verse 3, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. This is the divine exchange. What you carried as sorrow becomes joy. What you wore as heaviness becomes praise. What you thought was ruin becomes beauty. Think of a battlefield after the fight. Broken swords lie scattered, armor dinted, the ground scarred, yet among the wreckage stands a warrior, weary but alive. Slowly, sunlight breaks through the clouds, and the land once marked by violence begins to breathe again. That is your life. Though marked by struggle, it is breaking into peace. Peace is not the absence of noise, but the presence of God. It is not fragile or fleeting, it is steady, unshaken by what surrounds it. Peace flows not from circumstances, but from the certainty that you are held. You are not forgotten, not abandoned, not overlooked. You are carried in everlasting arms. Imagine a garden after winter. Branches once bare begin to bud. Flowers push through soil, and fragrance fills the air. Winter did not destroy the garden, it prepared it for bloom. In the same way, your winter has prepared you for this season of renewal. The life that felt hidden is now ready to flourish. Chosen one, understand this. The storm was never meant to last forever. The fire was never meant to consume you, only to refine you. The waiting was never punishment, but preparation. And now you stand at the threshold of fulfillment, where what was promised begins to unfold before your eyes. This unfolding may not be loud or dramatic. Sometimes the greatest miracles enter quietly, like dawn breaking on the horizon. Shadows fade, light spreads, and before you realize it, the whole sky is filled with color. Your new season will arrive in this way, not with chaos, but with clarity. You may look back and wonder why it took so long, but every delay, every detour, every struggle was part of the shaping. A vessel too fragile could not carry the weight of glory. A warrior untested could not withstand the pressure of battle. But now you are ready. You are not who you were. You are who you were always meant to become. And so the silence you feel is not emptiness. It is God breathing peace over you. It is the pause before the song rises, the stillness before the dance begins, the hush before the announcement of victory. This silence is sacred. Receive it. Rest in it. Let it heal what battle has bruised and restore what fire has stripped away. Chosen one, the journey continues beyond this point, but the foundation has been set. You have heard the call, endured the refining, embraced the assignment, and press toward the crown. Now peace becomes your companion, not as a fragile guest, but as a permanent resident. Lift your head, breathe deeply, and step into this calm with confidence. The storm has passed, the fire has refined, and the garden is blooming. The silence sings a promise. It is finished, and it is beginning. And when you walk into this stillness, you will notice something else. The ground feels different beneath your feet. What once shook now feels steady. What once echoed with fear now whispers with hope. This is what it means to live in the aftermath of refining grace. The scars you carry no longer ache. They speak. They tell stories of nights you survived, storms you endured, and fires that did not consume you. They are not marks of shame, but monuments of mercy. Wherever you go, they will remind you and others that peace is possible, even after chaos. So do not fear the quiet. Embrace it. Rest in it. Let it become your rhythm, your song, your atmosphere. For in the silence, God is closer than ever, and His presence makes even stillness sing. Chosen one, you have walked through every word, carried the weight of revelation, and stood firm through trial, fire, and calling. This journey has not been for entertainment, it has been for alignment. Heaven has been speaking to your spirit, reminding you that you are marked, refined, and crowned for such a time as this. But this is not where it ends. It is where it expands. When you like, share, and subscribe, you are not just interacting with a message, you are letting your light spill into other hearts, as if carrying a torch through the dark so others can see. And if your spirit stirs to go deeper, hear this with gentleness. Giving is not obligation, it is beauty. Each donation is like adding a thread of gold into a great tapestry. One strand alone may seem fragile, but together they form a masterpiece that declares God's glory across generations. Or it is like placing a brick into the foundation of a temple. Alone, it is small, but together they build a sanctuary where countless souls will find refuge. Your words matter too. When you leave a comment, you are planting a seed of testimony in this soil. A simple "I believe" or "I receive" is like dropping a pebble into water, sending ripples outward farther than your eyes can follow. This is the invitation, not a command, not a pressure, but a holy chance to join in what heaven is already building. Whether through prayer, action, sharing, or giving, you are part of this story. You are a living echo of God's faithfulness, and your echo carries further than you imagine. So walk forward with courage, shine without hesitation, and let every action you choose, no matter how small, to be another flame added to the fire, another stone added to the altar, another note in the song of God's chosen ones.